Hi guys, this is Mrs. River here, and I will be walking you through today's lesson, which is Analyzing Word Meanings, which is Reading Informational Standard 7.4. Today's lesson is set up in 5 parts. So parts 1, 2, and 3 are what we're going to talk about in this video, and then hopefully you will be able to do parts 4 and 5 on your own. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, so today's standard, Reading Informational Standard 7.4, we'll be covering figurative meaning, connotative meanings, and technical meanings. So let's just get right into it. Technical meanings. Do read this in your packet, but I'm just going to cut through it and just kind of do it as quickly as we can. Science, math, and engineering. So when you come across words in a text that seem specifically scientific, or math related or engineering related, those are technical meanings. And sometimes you need to break those down and figure out what they mean. And so that's why we're covering them in this lesson. Also, connotative meanings. The definition here is a word chosen for its connotation expresses not just an idea, but a feeling. The way I like to think about connotative meaning is there is like the dictionary definition, which is actually called the denotation. But you've got the definition and then you've got some kind of emotional attachment with it. So usually there's like a positive connotation or a negative connotation. So I like to think about the word, let's say thin. Thin is kind of like the denotation. There's no like emotional baggage attached to it. But if you say fat, there's a negative connotation that goes along with that. If you say fit, there is a positive connotation that goes with that. So basically, connotation is just a word that's got a definition plus some emotional baggage. And then we've got figurative meaning. I know we've covered figurative language, but those are words or phrases that express ideas in creative, unusual, or unexpected ways. Usually there is like the figurative meaning and the literal meaning. Then the figurative meaning is just a more creative way to say something. So, all right. On your packet, we've got a picture of a wasp. And so what I'd like for you to do with me is underline words in the diagram that have either technical, figurative, or connotative meanings. At this time, we're not really going to be trying to figure out which one's which. We're just going to read them and then identify when we see some of that language. Okay, looking at the left. The huge black eyes seemed borrowed from the face of a space alien. All right. Looking at those words used in that little passage, I see that there was a creative way to explain to us what it looks like. So we've got what I'd like for you to do is underline borrowed from the face of a space alien. Next, we're looking in the upper right-hand corner of this diagram. The wicked speed of the wings allows the wasp to snatch up its meal and dart away like a thief. So I've already underlined wicked for you. Usually when we think wicked, we think witch of the west or something that is evil. We know that the wasp isn't exactly evil, but that is a creative use for that word. There are some other creative uses for some words here. So we've got, there we go, snatch up, that is some creative use of language, and then dart away like a thief. So we see that simile because of that word like. Okay, looking at the next passage here, we've got a little bit of, I'm going to go and throw it out there, technical language. The female wasp's ovipositor, or egg-laying organ, is found in the abdomen. It also functions as a stinger to paralyze and kill prey. Okay, so a good way to kind of eyeball or identify technical language is, first of all, a word you've never seen before, or a word that you're pretty sure that you wouldn't come across in a novel. It's just an unusual word. So ovipositor, that is definitely some technical language. And then also we've got abdomen. That is some technical language. And finally, paralyze. So go ahead and underline all those words if you haven't already done so. And here we go. And looking at this chart, we're going to complete this together. So they've given us an example, snatch up its meal. And they have already told us that it has a connotative meaning. So we're looking at the word snatch up. And so the author uses this to suggest that the wasp takes the meal suddenly, perhaps rudely. So the author could have used the word take its meal, but it's a bit more colorful, and we can definitely see it a little bit more clearly when the author uses the word snatch up. So that definitely has a connotation. The next example, ovipositor or egg-laying organ is found in the abdomen. And they've already told us why the author uses it, which is to communicate precisely which part of the wasp is being described. And so we know that those words are pretty much only science and technology words. And so we see that that is a technical meaning. So go ahead and write that down. And finally, looking there at the bottom, it says, eyes seemed borrowed from the face of a space alien. So that gives us a great visual image there. And but we know that there is no actual space alien present here. We know that the author was just using figurative language. And so go ahead and write the word figurative there, because that's the type of language being used. And the author uses it to suggest that the eyes seem strange, unearthly, or eerie. So you definitely get an understanding of what the wasp truly looks like when the author uses a word like borrowed from a space alien. Something I want you to pay attention to is the third column on this chart, why the author uses it. So that's a question that we need to constantly be asking ourselves. Why would the author choose these words rather than other words? So looking down here at the bottom here, paying attention to the different types of meaning will help you understand how the author thinks and feels about the topic. So the author's not going to come straight out and be like, I don't like wasps, or I do like wasps. That would be pretty boring and straightforward and unnecessary. So the author does use specific words to kind of hint at how he or she feels about a thing. For example, you might guess that the author of the diagram has some scientific knowledge about wasps, but also finds them rather unnerving. Alrighty, part 2. We are heading into the modeled instruction phase. This is where I will do some, and then you will do some. We'll do some of this together. All right, so read the first 3 paragraphs of the following scientific account. First, I will read this. Don't Let the Bedbugs Bite by Nick Marcus. Bedbugs are a nuisance that spread quickly. So, if you find bedbugs in your home, you owe it to yourself and others to take decisive and immediate action. The scientific name for these tiny blood-sucking insects is Cimex lectularis. They're called bedbugs because they mainly feed on blood at night while their hosts are asleep. They are like an army of minuscule vampires. Places like mattresses, couches, and chairs serve as luxurious havens in which thousands of them can live. The bedbug inserts a syringe-like proboscis through the host's skin. It takes between 3 and 10 minutes for the bug to drink its fill through this slender appendage. Its bite is small and painless, so the victim rarely wakes during this feeding time. Bedbugs are not known for disseminating disease, but the bumps they leave behind can become infected. Also, the saliva they release into the skin can make you itch so badly you'll want to scratch your skin off. All right, so we're going to explore how to respond to this prompt. The underlined words and phrases in the passage express technical, connotative, and figurative meanings. Determine the meaning of each word or phrase as it is used in the passage. So the technical word here is proboscis, and you can use context clues in the passage to figure out the meaning. So let's look back up here. Proboscis. Okay, it inserts a syringe-like proboscis through the host's skin. We also see the words slender appendage, and so we can kind of get a visual of what this is. So it is a needle-like structure on the bedbug's head that it uses to pierce skin and drink blood. So the context clues we've got are syringe-like, through the host's skin, drink its fill and slender. So I'll give you a second to write that down. You can pause it if you want. All right. Next, hang on. Next, consider the connotative meaning of the word victim, which the author uses to describe the person being bitten. What does the word victim suggest about both the person and the bedbug? So we know the word victim, we've heard it used in the past, but the author choosing the word victim, it's suggesting that the person being bitten is helpless. So usually when you hear the word victim, it's somebody has been attacked. And then the bed bug is the bad guy. So here we go. The person being bitten is helpless and the bed bug is bad or evil. And you can pause it if you need to write that down. All right. Finally, this I'd like for you to do on your own. The phrase scratch your skin off is figurative. What does this phrase help the reader understand about the itch caused by a bedbug's bite? So at this moment, I would like for you to pause the video and then take a moment to explain this. All right, part 3, guided instruction. So this is a little bit more of teacher letting go and seeing what you guys can do on your own. All right, so this is a continuation of that passage that we just read. Looking up in the top left here, we've got a close reading, which is helpful. So we're going to reread the paragraphs and underline any word or phrase that contains a figurative meaning. So here we go. Bedbug infestations can appear to be a blanket of crawling pinholes that cover the place where you rest. The teensy pests often hitch rides on suitcases left in hotel rooms and travel home with unwitting victims. So keep your luggage off the floor when you travel and wash your clothes in hot water when you get home. Use a flashlight and magnifying glass to scrutinize your mattress. If you find any evidence of bed bugs, destroy the mattress immediately and call a professional exterminator. You owe it to neighbors and fellow travelers not to spread the bed bug headache. We have been asked to underline any word or phrase that conveys a figurative meaning. We are not thinking right now about technical meanings or connotation. We're just thinking specifically about figurative language. All right, so we're going to start off with blanket of crawling pinholes. Hopefully that is not something that actually exists in real life, but this is what they want us to see. Blanket of crawling pinholes. So go ahead and underline that for figurative language. Hitch rides on suitcases. That's something that only a human could probably do. So that is personification of these little bed bugs. And then finally, bed bug headache. That is a way to convey to us that is, it's definitely some trouble having to deal with it. Now, next, the tone of a text, in case we have forgotten what tone is. It is the overall feeling that the author is trying to get across. So the thing that they're trying to make you feel. And so on your own here, let's read this. We'll read this question together, and then I'd like for you to answer it on your own. Which statement best describes the impact of the author's word choice on the overall tone of the account? So A, phrases like teensy pests and hitch rides give the whole account a humorous tone. B, words like rest, travel, and neighbors give the account a comforting tone. C, the words evidence and professional exterminator are used to create a threatening tone. Or D, words with technical meanings create an informative tone, but phrases like crawling pinholes add a note of disgust. Well, I hope that reading through those, you have been able to come across this answer. Yeah, so we've got technical meanings give an informative tone, but we've got crawling pinholes, and that is pretty gross. All right. And then finally, on your own, I would love it if you would explain which words and phrases helped you figure out the intended tone, which is, again, the feeling the author is trying to make you feel. And this is where I leave you. Parts 4 and 5 are parts that you hopefully can do on your own. So make sure you read the instructions and get these ready to turn in the next time we see you. So if you have any questions, just send me a message on Remind or Google Voice or talk to Mrs. Bowl. later on.